All right, so get this. Today we're going deep, like really deep, into one of the most, I guess you could say, infamous unsolved mysteries ever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The Zodiac Killer.
Yeah.
Late 1960s, Northern California. Think peace, love, and then
That shadow.
a shadowy figure just terrorizing the Bay Area. It's crazy. His cryptic messages, those brutal murders, they still, like, haunt us, and they never caught him.
Yeah.
It's wild. So today, we're going to, like, try to untangle this whole web of the Zodiac case, the murders, the codes, the whole thing.
Right.
And try to figure out why, after all these years, it still gives everyone chills. You ready for some twists and turns?
Always.
Because with Zodiac, nothing is ever what it seems.
It's true. And it's not even just the murders, right? It's how he turned it all into this, like, terrifying spectacle.
Yeah.
Like he was putting on a show, using the letters, the ciphers, to taunt the police, taunt the public. Like he wanted to, I don't know, orchestrate his own legend.
It's like he wanted to be, like, the star of his own twisted horror movie, you
Yeah.
know? So let's just start with the real-life horror, the confirmed murders. What happened?
Well, the first victims were Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday,
Okay.
2 teenagers. They were on a first date,
Oh, wow.
December 20th, 1968,
Okay.
on the secluded road near Vallejo. Just brutal, senseless.
Awful. Tragic.
Yeah.
But then things escalate, right?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't just, like, disappear.
He doesn't. No. 6 months later, July 4th, 1969,
Bold move.
talk about audacity, he strikes again. Blue Rock Springs Park.
Okay.
Darlene Farron and Michael Mageau were the victims that time. Darlene, she didn't make it, but Michael did.
Oh, man. That had to be terrifying. Did he say anything, like give any details about the attacker?
He did. He gave a description, and his testimony, I mean, it became so crucial to the case. Eyewitness accounts,
Oh, yeah.
those can be huge in these situations.
Big time. But this detail, July 4th, it's like a message almost, right? Like a challenge.
It could be. I mean, it definitely shows this chilling level of confidence, maybe even arrogance. And he wasn't done either.
Okay, so what happened next?
September 27th, same year, 1969, Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard are attacked. Lake Berryessa.
Got it.
And this is where it gets, really interesting. This time the killer was wearing a black hood with that white cross circle symbol.
Right.
Like, that image it's become the Zodiac case. It's synonymous with terror itself.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's not just the visual, right? There's something else he leaves behind that just baffles investigators for years,
Yeah.
decades, those ciphers. It's like he was creating a puzzle, daring someone to solve it.
Right. Yeah. The letters, the ciphers, they're like central to the whole Zodiac mystery.
Right.
It started just days after the attack at Blue Rock Springs, July 31st, 1969.
Got it.
3 letters, different newspapers around the Bay Area. Each one had part of a 408-character cipher, and a threat. He demanded they publish it or he'd go on this weekend-long killing spree.
Wow, that's cold. It seems like he was almost enjoying this, like
Yeah.
reveling in the fear.
Definitely trying to control the story, using the media to, like, amplify his terror. And it worked, I mean, can you blame them? The newspapers published it.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating is that even though it was so complex, someone cracked it within a week.
No way. Seriously, who?
School teacher Donald Hardin
Wow.
and his wife Betty.
No kidding.
They, like, meticulously went through it all. The patterns, the symbols, trying to figure out the substitutions, like real-life detectives.
Totally.
And what they uncovered, well, it sent chills down everyone's spines. It said, I like killing people because it is so much fun.
Oh, okay. That's
See?
bone-chilling. Just so disturbing. I mean, what does that even tell us about his mindset, I mean?
It suggests a deep pathology, complete lack of empathy, like a dark window into the mind of a killer, someone who finds pleasure in taking lives.
Yeah.
But there's another cipher, the 340,
Right.
and that one,
Yeah.
it took a lot longer to crack.
Didn't they finally figure that one out, like, recently? Like in 2020?
You're right, 2020, this team of code breakers, David Oranchak, Sam Blake, and Jarl Van Eyck, they deciphered it,
Okay.
and it was another chilling message. I'm not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner because I now have enough slaves to work for me.
Whoa. Paradise. That's a pretty loaded word. What do you think that says about, like, his motives or his beliefs? Like, was he delusional? Did he think he was, like, righteous in some way?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a question that continues to haunt investigators and fuel speculation. And then there's that slaves part. What was he implying there? Just trying to be menacing, or was there something more to it?
Yeah, that Slade's thing is really unsettling. He's trying to make himself out to be some kind of dark overlord or something. But okay, let's shift gears a bit here. Let's talk about the
Right.
victim. So
Yep.
after Lake Berryessa, there's one more.
Right. October 11th, 1969. Paul Stein, a San Francisco cab driver, shot and killed in his cab. And the killer, I guess as a way to taunt the authorities even more, he sends part of Stein's shirt to the San Francisco Chronicle. It was soaked in blood. And another letter, of course.
Ugh, that's just sickening. Sending a victim's clothing to the press, it's like designed to shock and terrorize, to keep everyone on edge and constantly looking over their shoulder.
Exactly. It was a way to intimidate and control. It seems like he was, I don't know, obsessed with leaving his mark, not just on the victims, but on the entire Bay Area.
Yeah, wow. Okay, speaking of leaving his mark, let's talk suspects. There have been so many names over the years, right? But no one has ever been definitively linked to the crimes.
That's right. It's like the Zodiac case has become this breeding ground for theories and speculation. And because it's officially unsolved, it just keeps people guessing.
Right.
One of the most, I guess, well-known suspects is Arthur Lee Allen, a convicted child molester, lived in Vallejo. He matched some aspects of the Zodiac's profile. And get this, he even owned a Zodiac brand watch. You know, the one with the cross-circle logo?
Hold on. Really? That seems like more than a coincidence. I thought there was something about his handwriting, too.
Yeah, there were these reports that he misspelled his name, the same way the Zodiac did, in one of the letters. And then you've got all the circumstantial stuff. Witnesses put him near one of the attacks. He even admitted to liking guns and explosives.
Okay, so he seems like a prime suspect. But if he was so suspicious, why wasn't he ever charged?
That's the question, isn't it? The million-dollar question. Because even with all that circumstantial evidence, there was never anything concrete, nothing physical that linked him to the crimes, fingerprints, no match. And DNA testing, I mean, that wasn't around back then, but even later, it was inconclusive.
So even with all those red flags, it still wasn't enough to close the case. What about some of the other suspects? Who else was on the investigators' radar?
Well, there were a few others, yeah. One was Richard Gaikowski. He was a journalist, worked for a small paper in the Bay Area.
Oh, okay.
And the thing about Gaikowski, well, he reportedly was really into codes and ciphers, kind of like our guy, right?
Oh, wow. That's a pretty big connection, especially with those coded messages the Zodiac was sending. Was there anything else that made him a suspect?
Yeah, actually, he kind of looked like one of the police sketches of the Zodiac.
Mm-hmm.
And some folks who knew him said he had a dark side, like a violent streak that he kept hidden.
So same story as Allen, though. No hard evidence.
Right. No concrete evidence, never tied him directly to the murders.
Man, it's crazy how a case like this can have so many leads, but none of them, lead to the answer. Who else was there?
Ross Sullivan worked at a library, lived in the area. He fit some parts of the Zodiac profile. The police even questioned him.
Oh, wow.
But, again, not enough to actually link him to the crimes.
It's like trying to catch smoke or something, You think you have it, and then poof, gone.
What about that group, the Case Breakers? Didn't they say they, finally ID'd the Zodiac back in 2021, wasn't it?
They did, yeah. They said it was Gary Francis Post.
Yeah.
Dead, Air Force vet.
And they had some pretty compelling stuff. Photographs, anagrams, you name it. They were convinced it all pointed to Post.
Okay, so did they crack the case then? Is Gary Francis Post officially the Zodiac?
Well, no, not officially. Law enforcement never verified it. The FBI even put out a statement, said the case is still open, unsolved.
How? So after all this time, all those investigators, the Zodiac's real identity is still a secret. It makes you wonder, why hasn't it been solved? We've come so far with DNA and all that forensic science. Shouldn't we know by now?
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But there are a few things that have kept this case a mystery. I mean, first off, the Zodiac was really meticulous. He barely left any physical evidence. It's like he was a master of disappearing.
Like a ghost or something, just appearing and vanishing. It makes you wonder if he had some kind of training, something that helped him avoid getting caught.
Maybe. And you got to remember, this was before DNA was really a thing. But it's not just that. The ciphers, the letters, those added a whole other layer of complexity. He was trying to misdirect everyone,
Yeah.
He was playing this elaborate game, taunting the police, making them run in circles.
Right. I bet that was frustrating for those investigators.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to put together a puzzle where the pieces constantly change shape.
Oh, I bet. And the pressure, right. Knowing this guy's out there probably planning his next move while they're trying to decode all this cryptic stuff.
Yeah. And you mentioned DNA, but haven't they tried to use, the technology we have now to look at the old evidence?
They have, and they've gotten like partial DNA profiles from the letters and things like that. But so far, no match. Not in any of the databases.
So there's still a chance, right, that someday, as technology gets better, we might finally get an answer. Maybe a match will pop up, or they'll find a way to get more complete DNA from what they have.
Yeah.
So we're so close to solving it.
It's possible, yeah. But there's another big thing to consider. Jurisdiction. I mean, these murders happened in different places. Vallejo, Napa, San Francisco. That means different police departments were involved, different ways of doing things, you know?
Right, right. Back then, communication and working together between different police departments probably wasn't as easy as it is now. And if there wasn't a central task force, it's easy to see how important info could slip through the cracks.
Exactly. Plus, let's not forget about the media. The whole frenzy around this case. I mean, the Zodiac was practically a media star, if you can call a serial killer that.
Yeah.
Every letter, every cryptic message, it was all over the front pages. It was a feeding frenzy.
That's a classic example of how media attention can really mess with an investigation. I bet it was overwhelming for the investigators, trying to filter out all the noise and figure out what was actually real.
Oh, absolutely. And it makes you wonder, did the Zodiac like all that attention? Did it feed his ego? Like, did he want to be seen as some kind of criminal mastermind?
That's the scary thought. It's like he was playing this game with everyone, the police, the public. And you know what? He kind of won. He was never caught. But his name, that symbol, those messages, they're all part of our culture now.
You're right. The Zodiac Killer, even though we don't know who he was, he's more notorious than almost any other criminal. It's a disturbing legacy. But it makes you think, what is it about these unsolved mysteries that keeps us so fascinated, even after all these years?
That's like a puzzle, but you can never solve it,
Yeah.
And maybe that's what we like about it. We love a good mystery, especially one with, really high stakes.
Right. I mean, unsolved mysteries, they really tap into that, human curiosity, that need to make sense of the world.
Yeah.
And the Zodiac, with those cryptic messages, the murders, and the fact that he just, vanished. It's like a real-life detective novel, except there's no ending.
And maybe that's what makes it even scarier.
Yeah.
The fact that someone could do these awful things and just disappear, no answers. It's like a reminder that sometimes the bad guys win.
True. But I think there's more to it than just the mystery. The Zodiac case, it says something about America, back in the late 60s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a crazy time. So much social and cultural change, upheaval, uncertainty.
Right. And then this guy appears, and he embodies all of that, all that chaos and anxiety, like a symbol of the dark side of the American dream,
It's like he was a product of that time, like a manifestation of all that fear and paranoia that was going around. And because they never caught him, he became this, almost mythical figure.
Right.
Like a boogeyman.
Yeah.
He could represent anything people were afraid of.
Yeah.
Personal anxiety, societal anxiety.
Exactly. He becomes a symbol of everything we fear, the randomness of violence, how fragile life is, the idea that even in a society that thinks it's all about order and justice, evil can still be lurking in the shadows.
And because the case is still open, he's still out there.
Mm.
At least in our minds, it's like a ghost that just won't go away. A reminder that some things never heal,
It's true. And that's the power of this story, right? It's not just about the case anymore. It's about our own fears, our vulnerabilities. It's about how we try to make sense of a world that can feel really chaotic and unpredictable.
I think it also shows how much we're fascinated by true crime. We're drawn to these stories, not because we like the violence, but because they force us to look at the dark side of humanity. It makes you think, what makes someone do these things? Could it happen again?
That's the question, isn't it? And there's no easy answer. But when we explore these cases, when we try to understand the victims and the people who hurt them, I think we learn something about human behavior, maybe even about ourselves.
That's a good point. So to everyone out there who's captivated by the Zodiac case, I say keep digging. There's a ton of information out there. Books, documentaries, websites, all trying to figure out this mystery. Look at the evidence. Think about the theories. Come to your own conclusions.
And remember, even when you're facing the unknown, the search for truth is always worth it. You never know. Maybe you'll be the one to finally crack the code and close this chapter.
That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. But we want to hear from you. What about the Zodiac case fascinates you? Got any theories of your own? Let us know in the comments. Keep the conversation going.
And hey, the mystery might never be solved, but trying to understand it, that's always worth the effort.
Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep those critical thinking skills sharp. You never know when they might come in handy.
Thank you for venturing beyond the veil. We hope tonight's episode stirred your curiosity and left you craving more of the unknown. Unveil your thoughts. The veil is thin. In the comments, share your theories, reactions, or questions. Subscribe and stay curious. Dare to dive deeper? Hit subscribe and turn on notifications for your next journey beyond the veil. Return beyond the veil. The mysteries never end. Join us next week as we uncover more secrets,